I'm ashamed I used to support Donald Trump. That's coming from a MAGA voter. Again, they're ashamed. I told you about this yesterday. People are peeling away from him. Here's another one. I supported Trump for policy, not cruelty. This Rob Reiner post is disgraceful and unfit for office. I will no longer stand by Trump or defend him. Silence would be complicity. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of these kind of posts and sentiment today as basically Trump just showed you who he is. We've always known who Trump is. You follow the channel, you know who Trump is also. And it always feels like, how could you possibly sink to a new low? This is what it says. This is from Trump. And if you don't know, there was a Hollywood director. He and his wife were killed. And it turned out, it looks like the son has been arrested for that. And then Trump is trying to make it about Trump. You have to see it for yourself. This is from Trump. He says, a very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife, Michelle. Reportedly due to anger he caused others through his massive and yielding, incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome. So we don't know what the motive is. We don't know if it's related to this at all. Chances are it's not. So he's taking a tragic event and making it about him. He's just making stuff up. Sometimes referred to as TDS, he was known to have driven people crazy by raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness. And with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. Just weird, right? Something seriously wrong with Trump. When I see these kind of stories, because I saw it in the news, at first it said, 2 people were killed in the Reiner home, and I just I don't know what to make of that. And then I just saw that they arrested the son, and I don't. That's all I really know. And I started looking at it more, and I guess the son had addiction problems. They even made a movie about that. And the whole thing is very sad, and it's so strange the way Trump behaves, right? He does this a lot, but I think this might, because they're always wondering, like, what new low will finally cause the MAGA just to completely disown the guy. This might be it, actually. This is also going on today, which you maybe not have heard. The Pulitzer Prizes board is demanding real Donald Trump, right, turn over his psychiatric and medical records in discovery part as his lawsuit against the board. So he doesn't win the Pulitzer Peace Prize. What does he do? Oh, I'm going to sue everyone, right? And it really is like a South Park timeline. As I talk about that, they make fun of him because he sues everyone all the time, but it's like real. It's like how crazy he is. And so now he opens himself up to discovery. They want like taxes. What kind of meds are you on? What about your psych evals? Something's seriously wrong with the dude, though. It's obvious, because sometimes people say, well, that's just him tweeting out crazy stuff. He actually just says this in real life. Look at this.
A number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. It was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all, in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country.
And so that was response to a question of saying, Republicans are coming out and saying, Trump, crazy, what are you doing, tweeting out this kind of stuff? Like, what kind of reaction to this? And, this is just one of many things. So I'm not shocked. It's Trump. I think there's a serious sickness, though, in the USA for people to let it go, as long as it has. I also want to show you how stories are constructed in the USA. And I'll give you an example. If you don't know, there was a shooting at my university, Brown, just a couple days ago. They originally detained someone. They said person of interest, I think that's how they said it. And I noticed on social media, people started, putting a name out there and a picture. Oh, this is the person. And then people start fighting over, oh, it's definitely a left-wing person. Oh, it's definitely a right-wing person, right? No idea. Seriously, no idea. And then it turns out the person that they originally detained as a person of interest was, I guess, not the person. And now we're back to square one. This is the environment that we're in right now in the USA. It's like people jump to this conclusion and just make stuff up. So, for example, and this is sort of why I want to have a real conversation with you about this stuff. This is the FBI director, Kash Patel, and they say the FBI and Providence, this would be the police department, are releasing new images of a person of interest in the mass shooting at Brown University on December 13, 2025. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information leading to the identification, arrest, and conviction of the individual, right? So we have photos of this, and this is all I know. I don't know the person's name. I don't know where they're from, where they live. I don't know the motive at all. From my understanding, what it sounded like to me, the person went into was like an economics class, a fairly large lecture hall, entered the room and it just started shooting. I think it might have been like 40 rounds or something. It's like really a lot. And I'd heard that people, if you're kind of in the middle of the seating, you were more likely to be hit. And I think it's two people passed away and maybe 9 were injured, or something like that. And so, with the facts that I know of, and it could change, right? How can you say it was like? And I'll show you. I mean, how can you make determinations other than that, other than the facts? Here's also footage. So we have where the person's walking around. Like, do I know their motivation? No. Are they holding up any sort of particular sign? I don't know. And this is what an honest conversation is. Like, I really don't know. And I'm just showing you more. There is a person again. And this, I went to school here, so I know exactly where these places are. And then they're showing his hands or her. I think I don't know. It could be he or she, but I just show you the person. And that's the honest thing. You don't know. And then Trump will start blaming Brown. Listen to this.
Hopefully they're going to capture him.
Has Kash Patel told you why it's been so difficult for the FBI to identify who the shooter is?
Well, it's always difficult. So far, we've done a very good job of doing it with Charlie, with the various times this has happened. They've done it in pretty much record time. But you really have to ask the school a little bit more about that, because this was a school problem. They had their own guards, they had their own police, they had their own everything. But you'd have to ask that question really to the school, not to the FBI. We came in after the fact, and the FBI will do a good job, but they came in after the fact.
It's strange to blame the school here. I'm just showing you guys what he's saying. There's a couple things to mention. I know that a lot of people have been leaving the federal government. I know a lot of people have been pushed out or resigned from both the FBI or like CIA. When the Trump administration came in, if you guys have followed this, you would know these things, right? So I know sometimes in some of the regions, our most experienced people are no longer there. And you witness this in multiple agencies in the federal government. And then Trump will just say, oh, well, no, it's not the FBI. And like I said, we've seen reports that they're shorthanded, or we've also seen reports to where for Trump, they want to bring in more people to FBI that basically want to do Trumper stuff, and reduce the qualifications, reduce the training time, and reduce the testing requirements. So we just don't have the people that we used to in places that we need to. And also you have to address the serious gun problem in USA. And it's the same discussion. I don't want to get too involved in the gun discussion, but I'll just say this. All you have to do is look at the yearly mass shootings in USA. It's way more than other developed countries. It's like in USA you'll get, like this year, I think it's up to 395. We're not even at the end of the year, so it's basically every day. In other countries, it would be like 0. So clearly something's off here. And sure, someone's going to say Australia, which I totally, honest conversation, yes, there was a mass shooting in Australia, but look at the past decade. The last article I saw was like 11 in the past decade, which, again, is just not that many compared to USA. Things, tragic things can happen, like in these places, but not to the extent of USA. And, I just shake my head because someone posted this recently, and it was something I noticed also, and it was interesting to see someone else post it. So this is from Aaron. Aaron says, my timeline right now is literally just hundreds of right-wing accounts spreading the lie that this was a targeted killing. This is very clearly an organized effort by Musk to amplify this false narrative. It's generally terrifying. So whether or not it's like Musk personally, but I have seen the same thing that this person is referring to. Basically, and I'll show you, because Benny Johnson does it. Benny Johnson's one of the propagandist people for Trump, and if you don't know, Benny Johnson and Tim Pool and another right-wing influencer took money from Russia, so they put out this crazy stuff. So this is what Benny writes. He says, Ella Cook was a 19-year-old conservative, a Christian, and a vice president of the Republican Club at Brown University. She was brutally killed by a shooter in what appears to be a targeted political attack. So that's coming from Benny. But like as I told you, my understanding of it, the shooter came in, and it was like an economics class, and just people who were sitting in the middle were more likely to be hit. Is that politically motivated? Like it was just, and I don't say, I don't know what the motive is. I'll put it that way. And so then they tweet out these pictures as being, over and over again. And some say, I just want to, have a conversation, because they would say, oh, Chris, you're so dumb, you're so wrong. It was definitely politically motivated, because see, she was a college Republican. But then explain this post. Remember, there were 2 people killed. This is also Benny Johnson, where he basically contradicts himself. Look at, from Benny. The second victim of the Brown University shooting has been identified as 18-year-old Muhammad Aziz Urmazakov, right? After brain surgery at 10, he dreamed of becoming a neurosurgeon, which is what he was studying for. His family was most likely a most kind-hearted person and their biggest role model. Truly heartbreaking, rest in peace. Prayers for his loved ones. So I don't know if he was part of the Republicans, but it doesn't matter, because again, they were just in economics class together, which probably a lot of students take economics class from all sorts of things. It was completely, from what I can tell from the facts that I know, you think you could claim it was politically motivated at all. And so this is sort of the problem that we have right now in USA, is people are so, sort of to say it like, so willing to push whatever, narrative that they want to push. It's like, if the facts don't fit, well, okay, well, just ignore that part of the story, right? And so I just try to tell you the full story. There's 2 students killed. One wanted to be basically a doctor, and the other one, I don't know what her major was. I don't know. That's why I think that's part of the, honesty in these discussions, to say what you do know, what you don't know, and what your opinion is. Just make sure you delineate, make sure it's obvious what these things are. And it's sad, though, because also on social media, just the way the game is played, most of the channels you're going to be watching out there is going to be basically angertainment, right? So then there'll be a big competition of, who can be the most angry about what Trump said, or who can be most angry about people who react to what Trump said. And it's just, the whole thing is just crazy, and it compounds onto itself. So I think if you want to solve any of these problems that we have, just have honest conversations about it. So, I think it's pretty obvious that something's wrong with Trump, but someone who sues the Pulitzer because they didn't win, and the Pulitzer's asking for discovery of all the records. I mean, this sort of tells you the crazy story that we're in, and crazy timeline. That's my thoughts on this. I do appreciate your thoughts also, and I want to hear. And I thank you, and I'll catch you on the next video.